Hey there, entrepreneurs. My name is Sushant, and welcome to Trip Talks. This is the show where I interview successful e commerce entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders and ask them questions about their business story and also dive deep into some of the strategies and tactics that they have used to start and grow on their businesses. And today I'm really excited to welcome Kish Vasnani and Vanessa Jeswani to the show. Kish and Vanessa are the co founders and the husband and wife team behind Nomad Lane. Nomad Lane is a brand of thoughtfully designed travel bags and accessories for the modern traveler. And today I want to ask Kish and Vanessa a few questions about their entrepreneurial story and some of the strategies and tactics that they have used to start and grow the Nomad Lane. So thank you so much for joining me today at Trip Talks.
Thanks for having us.
Hi.
Perfect.
Nice to talk to you today.
So I know that you guys have a very interesting story. So I'm very interested to know if you can share a little bit about how you guys met and what motivated you to start a business, Nomad Lane, together.
Yeah, so Kish and I met, I guess it was almost 7 years now. Yes, it's been a while. And, the thing that really drew us to each other was this passion for travel. And actually, right as we met, Kish had accepted an assignment in India, whereas I was based in New York. And we continued talking to each other. And, we really enjoyed the conversations. And so we would have dates all over the world, essentially. So we would meet up in India where he was, or in Europe. We went to Turkey. We did like hot air balloons in Cappadocia. And so travel was really at the heart of our relationship.
Yeah, our relationship was long distance from the beginning. So that was kind of like the norm for us to, kind of meet up in different places, even though we were in two different places. And so I think a lot of the situations that we faced when we were going to go meet each other or traveling together was eventually the inspiration for Nomad Lane.
So maybe you can take me through the early days of when you started the business, when you were coming up with this idea, because bag is such a generic product, I would say, and there's like all kinds of bags out there, and even in travel category, I would assume there's so many different kind of bags. So when you decided to start this business, like, was there did you test out the market to say, okay, I want to create a bag in the travel industry, which I want to target a certain demographic, that there, when I started this business, there would actually be a demand for this?
I think like the thought process you just mentioned is very like an MBA type approach. And we certainly didn't have any of that. We were really just designing for ourselves.
But in a way, we did test out the market a little bit by launching smaller accessories first. We didn't want to, invest every dollar that we had into some things. We started off with smaller accessories like passport wallets, organizational cases, and that kind of thing. And we really saw people resonate with that. There was a strong interest in travel. And then we really thought about our own experiences as like business travelers, people who also traveled for fun. And every time we were on a trip and on a plane, we were like, I really wish we had this bag that just fit under the seat. I could put my laptop. It was easy to get in and out, or like medicines or toiletries on a flight. So we really designed based off of our own personal need.
Okay. And I know that.
And sorry, and so and then from there, when we did pivot into the bag, we are not venture backed or anything. We're actually bootstrapping this whole business. So the way that we basically went out and tested the market was we basically had some images of the bag. We described it in a way that we thought would be useful, and we put it on crowdfunding on Indiegogo, and that was our market testing. It wasn't, let us try to do wholesale or let us try to go inside of some store or, go through our own website. We wanted to go through a trusted platform, put out our best impression and see what people thought.
And is there a difference between different crowdfunding platforms? Like, why did you choose Indiegogo versus like Kickstarter?
I think they were more like retail focused. We actually were going to be on Kickstarter. And kind of had things built out, but I don't know. Like, I think I like the aesthetics of Indiegogo. We actually did talk to someone from there, but I don't know if there's a clear difference between two platforms.
Indiegogo definitely has a more personalized approach. So if you're launching a product and this is the first time you've done something like that, there's a team there that helps you out, that looks at your page, that can recommend like what else you can do. Versus Kickstarter, it was tougher to like get in contact with someone over there.
Yeah.
And then in terms of tracking, Indiegogo allows you to place your own pixel, so you get a better understanding of like what's working.
And then also like with Kickstarter, it's like, there's like a set defined amount of 30 days, 60 days versus Indiegogo. They have a component also called in demand, which after the 60 days or after your initial campaign while you're in production, you can still take orders as well. So that's kind of what helps sustain us. And so some people, may go on Kickstarter first because that's where they perceive to have the largest, perhaps most interested audience. And then from there, they then go into Indiegogo in demand to then keep their campaign going. And so I didn't want to do, double work essentially. So we kind of stayed on the Indiegogo process for the reasons Vanessa mentioned, as well as that piece as well.
Okay. And I know that your campaign was probably, I think there's a stat out there that it was one of the best campaigns that worked on Indiegogo. I'm not sure if that is still the case. But and I know that there was some marketing effort on your part, some like preparation efforts from your side before you went there. Can you share like what made your campaign so successful?
I mean, I don't know if it was like one single thing that made it really successful, but it was just, kind of firing off on all cylinders and making sure every step of the way was being done or performed or photographed or talked about in the best way possible. It wasn't something that we just did overnight. What people don't understand also is that when you do launch a campaign, the hard part of launching a campaign happens like 6 months before you launch. That's where all the preparation work comes in. And that was, I think, one of the main things that we did was just start thinking about it 3 months, 6 months before we actually hit launch.
Yeah, and I think, the most important thing when you launch a product, obviously, is like figuring out your messaging. Like, for example, our bag, there's 100 things we could say about this bag. It does like this and this and this and this, or it fits on the seat. And what we really did was like, we narrowed it down to just a few things. We were like, to our customers, who are these people who do these things, who are this age and who are most likely this gender, these are the 3 things that are the most important to them. And these are the 3 things we're going to talk about the most. And you just drill that in throughout your whole page. And, the second part of that is obviously visual. Like, crowdfunding is a very visual platform. Your video is like the most important asset you could have. And so that's something we spent a lot of time doing, working on a script, like really focusing on the messaging within the video. And so those are the couple of things that we would, really recommend focusing on.
And I think a big part of also was that you built an email list of people who would be interested in your product. Can you share a little bit about how did you build that email list, and what was how did you choose the people to include, like the audience, to be in that email list that would eventually be interested in your bag?
Yes, I mean, originally what we did, because, even before we launch a campaign, like, if you do a campaign right, that's also a lot of investment. Mm-hmm. So this was kind of like pre-campaign. We just wanted to understand, okay, if we were to launch a campaign, what type of interest would we get? Mm-hmm. The best way to do that, and what we followed, was we just did a simple landing page, like one page, a bunch of images, and as Vanessa mentioned, talked about the 2 or 3 things that we felt would be most important to our customers. And then from there, even with like a little bit of digital marketing savviness, you can go on Facebook, and, put like an ad budget of, I think we did like $5 a day or something, $5 a day. And let's just target different audiences. And then every day, every other day, every week, we would just check and see, okay, what kind of traffic happened? How many people signed up? And so that's kind of how we started building out our email list. And at least we knew that they were somewhat interested because of the different interests that we were targeting, as well as the copywriting on the landing page.
Cool. I want to ask you a little bit about your manufacturing, and which I do in most of my interviews, just to get an idea of, just to share, because manufacturing is such a big part of any product. Can you share a little bit about your manufacturing process and how maybe it has evolved from when you started to now?
Sure. I mean, like when we started, if you think back earlier in the conversation when we started talking about having the visual and a designer, we basically took that drawing and that design, and we actually ended up going to a fair in China. And just kind of because like we had kind of heard that okay, this is a place to go to, where everyone comes to, a lot of factories come, and we were new, didn't know too much, and just started showing our design, and had basically found a factory to work with and to fulfill our order. Um, and then things went okay, sort of. I think we definitely know a lot more now today than we did, 4 years ago when we first started. And I think it's safe to say that, yes, and even if you go look on our Indiegogo page right now, you'll see that we did make mistakes. There were some product defect issues, and we took it very personally. Versus if you go look on our website and look at the website reviews, you'll see a night and day difference. And I think that's just a testament to how far we've come along in the manufacturing process. But I think early on it's just really important just to be careful every step of the way, and especially if you don't have a manufacturing background, bring in a little bit of outside help wherever possible. Even if you can't afford everything soup to nuts, at least where possible, bring in some help.
And where would one go about finding this kind of help? Like, are there consultants out there, or?
Yeah, there's a ton of like agents, consultants. Yeah, lots of people online essentially or on LinkedIn that can help.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the main thing to search for would be like quality control assurance or quality control firm, someone who has your best interest at heart. Because a lot of times when you work with manufacturing companies and factories and stuff, they'll tell you, hey, no need to hire someone. We have someone in-house and we can check for you before we ship out to you. Just go ahead and send us the full amount. Just go ahead and send us the money now. And so that's going to happen a lot. And I think it's important. And while it sounds tempting, especially when you're first starting out and don't, have all the money in the world, it's very important to have someone on your side to pay just a little extra, have a third party to actually go into the factory and to inspect things to your specifications, or else they're a factory person. You have to think whose interests are aligned with who, and I think it's very important to analyze early on when you do go into any sort of manufacturing process.
So basically, you did not go the Alibaba way. You decided that you're going to visit China and you're going to talk to manufacturers yourself. Do you recommend that to everyone, or is that just the approach that you took and it worked out for you?
Ideally, it's that you would go and visit the factory because you never know who you're talking to online. Obviously, things are a little different right now with travel restrictions and stuff. So at least start the conversation. Maybe have some video calls, and then as soon as you possibly can visit the factory, that would be ideal.
Yeah. Especially nowadays, it's very easy to pretend like you're someone else. Or, it's very easy for a factory to say, oh, look, we make this high quality bag. Why don't you come make your bag with us as well? So, especially as Vanessa said, like nowadays it's a little more difficult. So I would even say work with someone whose reputation you can verify independently, maybe like a mutual connection, et cetera. But especially if you are doing your manufacturing process in Asia, and I think also, to a certain degree, in the U.S. and Europe, et cetera, I think it is good to meet, someone, there face to face, who can kind of help you walk you through the process. And because you are handing over a large amount of money as well, there's money being transferred back and forth. So yeah, it is good to have that in place.
Okay. And I know when I searched for your business, you have a lot of good press from like a lot of good publications. Did that come about organically because you had a great Indiegogo campaign and you have a good story, or do you actually have to go out and pitch to these publications? And what can other businesses learn from your experiences?
It's been a bit of a mix. A lot of people have found us. And then like at certain times when we were launching the Indiegogo campaign, we would, hunt down anyone who would be remotely interested in our product. We've done a little bit of both. And obviously the recommendation is to keep finding people who are relevant to your audience, figure out the publications that your audience really trusts, and, find people within those areas.
And, especially early on, if like someone is looking for press or, looking for a way to reach out to reporters without having any sort of budget, but, if they're the best idea, there's actually a resource that we used early on, and sometimes we use it today as well. It's called helpareporter.net or Haro, Haro. And, they send out daily emails like 1, 2, 3 times a day of reporters, who have a very clear ask of, hey, I'm ready for this publication, looking for this type of product or service. If it's you, please reply back, with these specific guidelines. And we did a lot of that, like, for example, we were featured in the Los Angeles Times, and that's how we got that, was just by, I saw that come across and we just replied and, gave our story. So I think that's something that often gets overlooked. You don't always need to have the biggest budget or the most amount of money to get in front of, reporters or publications. If you just roll your sleeves up and start looking and Googling, you can find someone who's willing to, talk about what you have to offer.
And I think your story is really important too, because people can tell when you're just trying to shill a product versus like for us, we really focus on why we started Nomad Lane, why we love travel, how it was at the heart of our love story. So I think that's really important for an entrepreneur to figure out as well. Like what's their connection to the product and what's their story and what makes them different.
Can you share a little bit about, do you have like any e-commerce tool recommendations or apps that work really well for you in terms of like running or growing your business?
So we are on Shopify. So that's, obviously the most important one to us that we constantly work on and tweak, etc.
Yeah, I think also reviews are really important. We use the Judge Me app. And that's worked pretty well for us too. So I think just having a good review flow and sequence is good.
Okay. Now, I think in everyone's entrepreneurial story, entrepreneurial journey, there's either mistakes made or there are failures. Could you share one or two of your either biggest mistakes or biggest failures, and what have you learned from them, and what can other entrepreneurs learn from your mistakes?
Yeah, I think, well, at least from my perspective, early on, like when you're new to an industry or new to something that you don't have background in, I think there's a lot of people there who are waiting for people like you because they want to take advantage of you. They want to manipulate you, or they want to convince you that, oh, this is fine, trust me, you're just starting, I've been doing this for so many years. You just say, be careful at every step of the way. Question, ask more questions, think about it, don't make any quick, rash decisions. And this is no secret, but like I said, if you go look on our Indiegogo page, you'll see if you scroll down, we did have some problems with zippers. We didn't have a really good understanding of how important zippers are to bags, right? If your zipper breaks, even though it's like the cheapest component or not a very expensive component of your bag, zipper breaks, the whole bag is useless.
Yeah.
And so I think that was one of the biggest things that we had to dig ourselves out of, especially early on. So, kind of understand what you're doing, ask a bunch of questions, think about it, talk to someone else, and then make a decision.